Hello literature connoisseurs. Let's begin chapter 23 of Left Behind. The chapter begins with Buck as he finishes a phone call to Bruce. Plans get made to visit the church later that night to discuss things. Insert eye roll. The rest of the day he has to work at the Chicago office and replace the supervisor that disappeared in the rapture. He decided to interview the staff but not to get to know them. Instead, he wants their theories to add to the story he's writing on the disappearances. There is a woman that has been filling in as supervisor since their boss vanished, and she gets annoyed she is not instantly chosen to replace her since she has been filling in. Understandable. She makes a sassy comment and Buck responds by making some of his own. You know, because professionalism is not a thing in the Christian worldview. Not to mention that there is no need for hostility when they don't know each other. Professionally, all jobs have the interview process by law to fill positions, so if she was expecting the promotion she should realize that the interview is just a formality. Her attitude jeopardizes her chances though. If we are being honest here. Mostly it's the authors making useless drama here. The scene gets interrupted by breaking news. CNN revealed that Nicolae Carpathia is now the leader of the United Nations. The UN voted on the demands he made and they approved them all. It is said that it will take within 1 year to fulfill all his requests. Basically, there are 7 main demands that Nicolae makes. The first is, he wants to move the United Nations from New York City to New Babylon, Iraq. Although New Babylon does not exist, the closest city to the old Babylon ruins is Hilla. They had to create a fake city because reality does not match their fake prophecies. Second, he wants to reduce the membership of the United Nations down to 10 members, dividing the world into 10 sectors. Third, he wants all countries to destroy 90% of all their nukes and give 10% to the UN. Fourth, he wants a 7-year peace treaty between Israel and the rest of the world. Fifth, is making a one-world religion by combining all religions into one version, somehow. Considering that religions have many contradictory elements that are irreconcilable and could never be combined into one. Sixth, creates a one-world government with everyone following one leader that is supposed to represent every culture yet not belonging to all of them. Lastly, seventh, he wants to be promoted as world dictator of the one-world government even though he pretends to not want to be given leadership. During this, Buck suddenly gets a call from Steve telling him that Nicolae wants him to exclusively be at a press conference he is having. No other media will be invited. The only thing that Nicolae asks is that Buck brings Hattie with him to the meeting. Buck makes a snarky comment that he is pimping her out now. Scene changes to Rayford and he keeps acknowledging Chloe to be his daughter. It's the cult mentality of Christianity that even though she has always been his daughter, he won't really acknowledge her until she converts. Chloe wants to be part of the group of the church elders, and Bruce mentions that he wants to form a special inner group to fight the Antichrist. The basic cult mentality of us against them, and we need to fight them in secret. Chloe comes up with the name Tribulation Force, which is what they want to call their secret team. Bruce explains that they will die horrible deaths because the Antichrist will one day make everyone take the mark of the beast. Scene changes to Buck as he arrives at the church 2 hours after everyone left. Buck knows he has to make a decision, but he claims he is not the type to just jump into one without proper planning. This is odd since he has never done any of that during the whole book. He remembers the night of the Russian attack on Israel and the story suddenly changes from what we were originally told. It was originally said that the planes began to crash into each other mysteriously. Suddenly the narrative becomes that there was a firestorm in the sky that caused the planes to crash. Firestorms don't just spontaneously appear in the sky. They can occur in one of 2 ways. First, a wildfire in a forest area can develop into a firestorm due to high winds. The second is nuclear bomb explosions can cause them. Remember that the Russian planes were equipped with nukes, so if they had detonated the bombs, then a firestorm can form. If we also ignore the radiation fallout from the explosions as being devastating to Israel. While the authors are trying to change their story, in a very poor place to do it, to make it look like a miracle. This again shows the writers are inept as authors. Buck meets Bruce and makes a ridiculous observation about him. He sees him as having authority and passion that Rayford had. What the fuck is it with this authority nonsense? Police and military have authority but not priests and wannabe pastors. People may respect them but that is not the same as authority. What's worse is that this is language a non-believer would not use. So the overuse of Christianisms will detract from non-believers wanting to convert if they cannot understand what is being talked about. Bruce begins with another weird statement that he no longer has time for pleasantries and he is not apologizing for what he is about to say. This is typical of the Christian mindset that they think others expect them to apologize for their beliefs. Nobody that does not believe in their religion expects them to be ashamed unless they do something egregious. It's not their beliefs they need to be ashamed of but their behaviors. This is just more gibberish that makes the story weak. Buck responds by stating that he is not here for a story but for personal reasons. But having a wannabe pastor toss in your face that you have no time to be polite to the listener is a definite turn-off. Buck states that Rayford is smart and made him curious and that Bruce appears smart also. There is that word again. I don't think that word means what you are using it as. In the Christian mindset, being easily persuaded and manipulated by little to no evidence. This is what Christians call smart but the rest of the world call gullible. Scammers and con artists love Christians because they are easy to fool due to their lack of critical thinking skills. Just add God to the scam and Christians jump at the chance to get scammed. Bruce begins with the emotional manipulation by telling his story because he has nothing else. No evidence or sound arguments, just nonsense. Buck interrupts him when he tries explaining the plan of salvation. Buck gives him a taste of his own medicine by telling his own backstory. Nothing like having two characters having a pissing contest over their stories. Buck mentioned he doesn't rush into things even though the lie detector determines that is a lie. Bruce becomes hypocritical by stating no one can force you into Christianity, then in the next breath tries to force Buck to convert. He tries the "we live in dangerous times and you can die at any moment." Bruce changes tactics by stating prophecy and the two fake witnesses. He moves on to the Antichrist and Buck notices those that line up with the 7 demands of Nikolai. Once again the authors make another stupid claim that there is no way Bruce could have known Nikolai's plans in advance. That is dumb because first off the plans were publicly revealed earlier that day. The prophecy of the Bible is ambiguous and can be changed and adapted to fit any scenario. So that can easily happen here. Plus the fact his press secretary can't keep his mouth shut and tells everyone the plans he is sworn to keep secret. The authors try to deny that by coming up with implausible explanations saying Bruce was in meetings all day and he turned off the phone so he could listen to the sound of his own voice. Odd that a pastor would not respond to help the congregation in case they needed it. What if there was an emergency? Telling his backstory would not help anyone in an emergency, but that's all he seems to be able to do. Buck talks about the press conference and Bruce laments that he has no control over Buck. So much for that authority bullshit. He orders Buck not to go because without God Nikolai will hypnotize him. Nikolai sounds like Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars. Bruce threatens that if Buck listens to Nikolai then he will become a slave of Nikolai for life. Not sure how a wannabe preacher would know that, but whatever. Bruce tells Buck about his secret group, the Tribulation Force. Not sure why he'd tell someone that has no interest in converting. He should be concerned that Buck could tell Nikolai about them. Buck asks to attend a meeting and Bruce refuses. Then why tell him in the first place? Teasing him for no reason? The chapter ends with Bruce going to the meeting the next day and telling about his meeting with Buck. He keeps his name secret but everyone seems to know it was him. They pray for him and Chloe cries about him. This ends chapter 23 of Left Behind. We have 2 more chapters to go for this book, then we move on to Tribulation Force. See you next time.